Hey there, race fans. It's race day, top 5 with me, Frank 5. Talladega Superspeedway, the biggest, baddest, boldest track in the entire NASCAR circuit. In Sweet Home, Alabama, where the skies are so blue, Lord, I'm coming home to you. And this track provides unpredictability and a lot of excitement, a lot of thrills, a lot of wrecks, a lot of chaos, a lot of drama, a lot of this and that. But there's one thing you can always count on, is that one of the best superspeedway racers is always going to be there battling it out in the end for the win. And today he comes out on top at Talladega for the first time in 5 years. Or excuse me, no, my mistake. 4 years. Let's get into it and let's talk about all that went down in Talladega. Number 1, Brad Keselowski picks up his first win of the 2021 Cup season, winning today's Geico 500 at Talladega Superspeedway over William Byron, Michael Mcdowell, our Daytona 500 winner, Kevin Harvick, and Matt DiBenedetto. Brad Keselowski, we all know he's one of the best at superspeedways. He's been battling it out on each and every single superspeedway we go to. He's fast. He's battling it out. He's leading laps. He's competing up front. He's working with his fellow Ford compadres, and he did it all today. And one thing that Brad Keselowski's been really good at, that we know of in the past, is running up front and being there racing for the lead a lot. But one thing that we haven't really seen from him since 2017 is him actually battling for the win, because it seems like the last couple of superspeedway races that we've had at Daytona or Talladega, Brad Keselowski gets caught up in an accident and he gets really upset about it, which I don't blame him, because you have the right to be upset. And he made a... Remember the famous quote he said in 2019 and Daytona July practice where he got wrecked, where he knocked in William Byron? He told these guys, "I've been wrecked out the last couple of races. Here's a message. I'm not lifting." And he sure didn't lift today, because he drove an aggressive race. Granted, he went through a little drama. At the end of stage 1, he was caught up in a little bit of an incident that went down, which I'll explain in a little bit. But Brad Keselowski suffered right rear quarter panel damage, but was able to fight his way back into the front. Usually, sometimes on superspeedway races, if you sometimes get a little minimal damage, you can still run the lead pack and run up front. You have no problem. It feels like aerodynamics at this point doesn't matter anymore, though I still believe it does. Anyways, but Brad Keselowski was able to make the most of it. He ran up front all day long. He went from the front to the back, to the back to the front, different tire strategies, and he took the lead on the last lap when it mattered the most. He had led all day until the last lap, which is the most important lap. And he was able to pick up his 6th win at Talladega Superspeedway, a track where he picked up his first NASCAR Cup win back in 2009. And we all know what happened there. He was driving for James Finch, and he made a move to the inside, and Carl Edwards comes down to block and sends Carl Edwards into the catch fence for what was one of the most thrilling and dramatic finishes in Talladega Superspeedway history. Almost as dramatic as last year's fall race finish, which was filled with a little bit of controversy. But Brad Keselowski's win today was definitely worth it. Stayed out of trouble for the majority of the race. He was able to keep the car clean after that incident at the end of stage 1. And picked up his first win of the season, locking him into the playoffs. And another thing to keep in mind, today he tied Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr., 2 of the most successful superspeedway racers in all of NASCAR, with the place at number 2 in all-time wins list at Talladega, with 6 wins. And I don't think I need to explain who number 1 is with 10 wins. I will anyways, the Big E. So Brad Keselowski's in pretty good company here when it comes to superspeedway racing and winning at Talladega. So, well-deserved, BK. And I'm sure that's not going to be the only win he has this year. I'm sure he's going to be winning a lot more races now that he's got one in the bank and he's off to the playoffs. Number 2, Matt DiBenedetto. Oh my goodness gracious. This guy is always up front of these superspeedways battling out for the win. He almost won last fall's race before he got penalized for passing below the double yellow line in turn 4, which is a no-no on any given lap. And he was in position today to look like to finally get that first Cup win, and more importantly, the 100th win for the Wood Brothers. And just keep in mind, Matt DiBenedetto will not be back with this team next year, because Austin Cindric will take the reins of the 21, and DiBenedetto will be searching for a job, which I believe he will. But Natty D ran up front all day, worked with his fellow Fords and Keselowski and Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick and Michael Mcdowell and Chris Buescher and all those guys. He had a great car all day long, and he was leading on the white flag lap, and it looked like he was going to be able to hold him off, but the lane that he was in, the middle lane, began to break up as guys were getting shuffled, with guys making moves back in the back of the pack. and Matt DiBenedetto went backwards, and Keselowski had more help at the end, and Matty D had to settle for 5th place. He was a little disappointed, but still a really good run. And this 21 team, it seems like they're finally getting their act together. They got their first top 10 of the season last week at Richmond. They get a top 5 today. This team's definitely heading in the right direction. Don't count out Matt DiBenedetto. I think he can make the playoffs. I think he can point his way in. I still think this guy can win. He has the talent. He has the equipment. That's really good equipment. I mean, it's not like top tier like Penske or Hendrick or Gibbs or Stewart-Haas, but still, it's really good top 10, top 15 equipment. They just got to get it right. They just got to get it right. But DiBenedetto, he put up a good effort today, a good solid effort, and he's only a couple points out of the playoffs. He could point his way in, but I'm sure he would love to win. Number 3, a lot of guys needed some really good runs today. Among them was Kevin Harvick because, let's face it, folks, Stewart-Haas Racing has just been meh this year. They've just been meh. But today, they definitely showed their stripes. They had very good runs all day long. Kevin Harvick battling it up front in that Busch beer dog car, whatever that paint scheme is. Supporting dogs with Busch beer right up front all day long. Got it out with a 4th place finish, which ties his best finish of the year. And of course, we all know where he finished earlier this year in 4th, and that was the Daytona 500. Harvick ran up front all day long, battling it out. Eric Almirola was leading laps. Cole Custer was up there at times. Chase Briscoe was relatively quiet, though he got away with his best Cup finish in 11th place. So that's a nice result for that team. Harvick, though, was the best of the Stewart-Haas cars, and he was race-wise in the finish. So a good points day for Kevin Harvick, but this team definitely needs more because I know there's still more with Stewart-Haas Racing. They just need to find out what's biting them speed-wise or like car-wise because this team is capable of winning races, particularly in Kevin Harvick's side because the other 3, Almirola seems to be getting it together. They just need the finishes and the luck. Custer's still relatively young and Chase Briscoe's only a freaking rookie. So that's why I got to go with that. Number 4, chaos at the end of both stages today. Boy. Where do I begin? Let's just say this. I love stage racing. It's really fun because it means more emphasis on trying to get more points. But on super speedways, especially in the closing laps, they can be absolute hell. And I'll explain why. With both incidents at the end of the closing laps of both stages in today's race. At the end of stage 1, in the last lap of the stage, Matt DiBenedetto leading that stage, which he eventually won. Joey Logano riding in 3rd place in the back straightaway gets a bump draft from Denny Hamlin, who moves out of line thanks to a bump from Ricky Stenhouse. Shocker. And Hamlin tries to come back in line, but Stenhouse taps him, knocking him into Logano. Hamlin is able to save the car, but Logano goes up in the air. The last Cup driver to do that was Brendan Gaughan in 2019 in the fall. We all know that was pretty wild. And Logano was able to, he rolled on his car, but he was able to fall on it. He was perfectly fine. Bubba Wallace was also part of that crash just a little bit. He only got a little nick. He was able to continue. And Brad Keselowski was part of that. But again, it was damage to the right rear quarter panel with contact from Chase Briscoe. Both of them carried on. Brad obviously won. Briscoe got his career best finish 11th. But Logano had himself for 39th place. He definitely had a fast car. He said, I appreciate the safety that goes in these cars, especially on super speedways. We had a great race car. I'm perfectly fine health-wise, but he said that he called out the aero package today, saying this has got to stop because the bump drafting is getting out of control on these super speedways. But, we're falling into a new era where we've got drivers that, very young, relatively young drivers that don't really follow the same procedures like we had in the golden days of NASCAR and super speedways, where we know where to bump draft and everything. It's kind of taken a little bit of a different direction, it feels like, over the last couple of years. And we saw that today, and Logano was a little bit upset about it. He said, I appreciate the safety, but I don't want to be, my incident almost was similar to Ryan Newman and the roll cage thing. We got to change this. Something's got to change. Well, NASCAR's got plenty of months to probably, take into what Logano said and look into it. I love super speedway racing, but the bump drafting's out of control. And that carried over into stage 2. Brad Keselowski, coming to the last lap of stage 2, makes a bold move to the top side off of the trial, coming into the trial oval, ahead of Denny Hamlin, who was trying to get his lap back after he was caught a lap down for 2 pit road speeding penalties. And he tries to slide in front of Martin Truex Jr., knocks them both on the wall, and takes out also 3 of the Hendrick cars. But 4 of the 5 were able to continue, Alex Bowman being the only one not able to run the rest of the race. He couldn't complete the damaged vehicle policy, so he had to call it a day. Denny Hamlin really wasn't able to recover after that because he fell more laps down and was never a factor. The only one that really did benefit out of that crash was William Byron. He took that damage and he went all the way up to finish second behind Brad Keselowski. But The bomb drafting at the end of these stages, battling it out for points on these super speedways, it's getting out of control. I mean, I grab my heart every time, especially when I see my guy battling up there, and like I see the stuff go down, I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack because I feel like these guys aren't using their heads properly. This isn't for the race win, guys. This is for stage points. Do you want stage points, or do you rather want to win the race? I mean, everybody wants to win the race, but some people say, oh, well, I want stage points so I can build my points for the season, and I can also build points to try to get closer to that 16th place in case we get more winners or we don't get any more new winners, which is highly unlikely. But at the same time, use your head. It's a long, long race. It's 500 miles. It's 500 miles. So please, guys, use your heads. But thankfully, we get a break from super speedway racing, and we won't be back to this stuff until August. Only problem is that's the last race to decide who gets into the playoffs. Super speedway racing, what are you going to do about it? And finally, number 5, a couple of career best finishes today up into the race overall. Obviously, Michael Mcdowell got his best Talladega finish, finishing 3rd, showing that his Daytona 500 win was no slouch whatsoever. He ran up front all day long. He definitely had a fast car, and the Fords and the other guys definitely trust him out there. Kaz Grala for Colleague Racing. They are running the super speedways as well as the road course races this year. He got in. Obviously, 40 cars were entered. No more than 40 cars, or else that 16 car probably would have been screwed. That car ran in the top 25 for the majority of the race, but then showed up in the end, got a 6th place finish. A really good result for that team. And then Harrison Burton, who is making his Cup debut today, driving for Gaunt Brothers Racing, came home with a nice, solid 20th place finish. He got the top 10 at one point. He ran a clean, smart race and came out of there one piece, and I think he did a really good job. And pretty soon, we'll see that guy in Cup because he's got the talent. He's got a lot of talent in his system. He's a really good guy. And as I mentioned, Chase Briscoe got his best career finish with an 11th place, which, you know, one spot from a top 10, but for a team that's really struggled so far, that 11th place almost feels like a win for them. So a lot of much-needed finishes, which you'll get here at Talladega. You'll see your normal front runners. You'll see the guys that you don't expect to see sometimes run up front because the Talladega and Daytona, as much as we hate the wrecks and everything and our drives being caught in it, the smaller teams benefit from this. It's the great equalizer. It can allow them to have an opportunity to not only win, but get good finishes for teams that don't have the money, like Hendrick or Gibbs or Penske or Stewart-Haas or any of those other big guys have. Even Ward Brothers Racing, some of these lower budget teams, and even some of these startup teams like that are relatively competitive in 2311 Racing, who, by the way, picked up their first stage win today with Bubba Wallace and his first stage win of his career. They came out there with a top 20 finish, but still, nonetheless, good speed. And Daniel Suarez, we've seen what he and Trackhouse Racing have done this year. The draft at Talladega is the great equalizer and can provide opportunities for guys to get really good finishes, and we saw it for a lot of guys today. So, Harrison Burton, good job in your first Cup start. Kaz Grala congratulates on you on your second career top 10 because he had a top 10 at the road course race at Daytona last year, filling in for Austin Dillon. Finally, driver recap, Chase Elliott, 24th place finish. Well, he finished the race, but stage 1, very fast race car, got stage points, finishing 3rd in that event. Led a couple laps, mostly under yellow, but we were able to run up with the leaders all day long. We lost the pack in the middle of green flag pit stops in stage 2, but luckily caution came out. We were able to stay in the lead lap and get back up there. We were part of that stage 2 crash towards the end there with our teammates, but luckily the damage wasn't that bad. I mean, he slid through the grass, and I can't believe the splitter didn't drag into the grass. I can't believe that. After it rained yesterday. So we were able to fix it. We were able to get back in the race. And then on the last green flag pit stop in the final stage, Elliott come to pit road, and Quinn Houff KO'd us in the right and the left rear, which hurt us and just shows how, I don't mean to sound rude, but, Quinn Houff wasn't using his head. Apparently he didn't break it enough. So we lost the pack. We had left rear damage. We got a caution when that 00 blew right front tire, right out of the yellow. Caught back up to the pack. Didn't really get up in there in the end, so we settled with 24th place. I'm not worried yet, but we now have 9 different winners, so we need to get to victory line soon. Coda's coming up, so we better win there. Or we could win in these next couple of tracks where Chase is really good at. He's good at Kansas. He's good at Darlington sometimes when the luck goes his way, and he's really good at Dover. So I'm not worried about it yet. But anyways, I'd also like to do a quick shout-out to Harrison Burton's cousin, Jeb Burton, who won his first NASCAR Xfinity race yesterday driving for Colleague Racing, and I could see the emotion in his post-race interview. It meant so much to him because he's clawed and tried to get into good race cars and teams that give him the opportunity to run full-time and showcase what he really has talent-wise, and he definitely showed it yesterday. So, bravo, Jeb Burton, bravo. So, that's it from Talladega. Up next week, we'll be in the windy city of Kansas. Who's going to come on top there? Will it be Martin Truex Jr., Mr. Mile and a Half? Will it be Denny Hamlin? Or will it be Brad Keselowski, who won one of the most exciting Kansas races 2 years ago? We will find out next Sunday. So, subscribe, like. Congrats to BK, back in victory lane at Talladega for the first time since 2017. Very entertaining race overall. I thought it was just great. Super speedways are fun. Talladega's a lot of fun, and we'll be back there to have a ball in the fall. So, see you later.